Okay, good to welcome everyone. How delightful to see everybody this evening as we bench Rosh Chodesh Elul. So when we learn, we should give an added extra oomph to learn Lishma, to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Dibarta Bam, La'asais Nachas Ruach Liyotzreinu. Remember, the Rameir says, Kol Aloy Mit Torah Lishma, Zoicha L'Dvarim Harba, and Torah is really a tremendous thing to do in Elul. I said today, Lulei Seirascha Shashuai, Lulei Lamed Vav Lamed Aleph is Elul. So Torah, which is our delight, is a great way to have protection as we head into the Yom Hadin. We are sponsored by A.B. Spry, who is making tomorrow night a chasana for an einikel. It should be Zivik, should be Ela Yafa Zayin. And maybe you and your wife should be able to enjoy for many years. We're sponsored by Ed Salah, Joshua Rosenberg, Yaakov Umansky for Hakaras HaTov to the Rav and the Zoom family, Nachas from children and grandchildren, by Baruch Inli and Nishmas Yaakov Chaim and Abbas, to Baskittel Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, by Shalom Fogel, the Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Rav Yaakov Yosef, Tzibya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zev. We learned for our Bava Basra Daf, Shimon Yehuda ben Gittel, and we should all have only good. We begin on Daf Samachei Amid Beis, and we are holding by Ve'ela Rabbi Eliezer de Koiveres, and I guess we should have Akdama over here, a preface that we said over a halacha about the piping of a mikveh. Remember, a mikveh is disqualified if the water is drawn by a utensil, by a keli. So the question is, what happens if you hollowed out a pipe and then attached it to the ground? Do we say that it gets the din of karka because it's attached to the ground? Or do we say that since it was hollowed out before it was attached, it retains its status of a keli? So let's try to mute people here. Okay. So, and we welcome in David Helfgott, who's just joining us on Kol Haloshin. So we the brisa that we learned yesterday was that a pipe that was carved out first and then attached to the ground is still considered a pipe, and it disqualifies the mikveh. If it was attached first and then hollowed out after it was attached to the ground, then it doesn't disqualify the mikveh. So he said the author of that brisa is not Rabbi Eliezer and not the Rabbanan. So the Gemara first is in hunt, which Rabbi Eliezer is it not? So the Gemara says, 3 lines from the bottom, Ve'ela Rabbi Eliezer the Koiveres Devarim, it's Rabbi Eliezer of the beehive. Now here, beehive, this is an artificial beehive that was made for the manufacturing of honey, and it was attached to the ground. Ditnan Koiveres Devarim, a beehive, Rebbe Eliezer Aimer Harihi Kikarka. Rebbe Eliezer says, and he says it without a distinction. Rebbe Eliezer says, even if it was hollowed out and then attached to the ground, still it has a din of karka, it loses its status of a keli. The kaisvan aleh pruzbel, and therefore you could write on it a pruzbel. This was a special halacha. We know a pruzbel allows that the loans that Yeshua Shmuel gave should not be released by Shemitah. Now, the only way he could make a pruzbel is only if, let's say he gave a loan to Yitzi. Yitzi has to have some karka, because it's not normal to give a loan to somebody that doesn't have karka, because you want to have something to have a lien on. And enactment of a prusbul is a takana, is a gzeira, and we don't make a takana on a milsa de loy shchicha. So therefore the loiva has to have karka. So the Gemara now is saying, according to Rabbi Eliezer, this beehive, even if it was hollowed out first and attached to the ground, has a din of karka, and therefore you could rely on it to write a prusbul. Ve'ena mekabelas tama, because we know something that's a mechubla karka is not mekabel tama. Ve'ena mekabelas tama b'mekayma. V'aroida mimena b'Shabbos, and if you remove honey from it on Shabbos, since it's considered attached to the ground, chayev chatas, so it's considered a malacha of kaitzer, of detaching something from the ground, and your chayev chatas. The Chachamim say eina kekarka, it's not karka. Ve'ein kaismin ola prusbul. You can't write a prusbul because since Yitzi only has this beehive, he doesn't have any karka. It becomes a milsa d'loi shchicha, and a milsa d'loi shchicha they didn't make the takana prusbul. Or mekabel is tuma b'mekayma. Since it's not mechubel karka, it's mekabel tuma. V'arayda memena b'Shabbos, and if you take from it on Shabbos, pot. So the Gemara wants to say, well, therefore the teaching that a pipe that was hollowed out first and then attached to the ground, it disqualifies the mikveh because it's a keli, is not Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer says that even if the beehive was hollowed out and attached to the ground, it's karka. But the Gemara says it's not a good comparison. Why isn't it a good comparison? Because Hasam k'de Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Taima, over there, Hasam Kedama Rabbi Eliezer, Taima, there the beehive has a exclusive reason that's only applicable to Hilchas Shabbos. The Amar Rabbi Eliezer, my time with Rabbi Eliezer, what's the reason of Rabbi Eliezer? D'chsev vayitpol oisa, and they dipped it, b'yarai sadvash, in the honeycomb. And we compared the honeycomb to a forest. Ma'yar hatoilish mimenu b'Shabbos chayiv, just like a forest. If you rip something out from it on Shabbos, you're chayiv f'toilish, chayiv chatas. After vash, aroidim mimenu b'Shabbos chayiv chatas. So that's a special gzeirus hakosov by a beehive that doesn't apply anywhere else. So we can't make an application anywhere else. Rather, and now I just realized that I was derelict in my host duties, where I didn't welcome in Stephen Holtzman and Mark Frankel and Yisrael Fishman, Nachman Chapler, Ben Zion Cohn, Dr. Block, and in the shul I see over there Michal Avram and Ruvain Shanet, Berish Gesemin, Saba, and Dr. Eisenberg, A.B. Spry, Mel Zachter, Irving Fishbaum, Yitzi Fuchs, Menachem Umansky, Rabbi Kranz, Marshall Castle, Yitzi Fuchs, who just lets us know the beautiful fact that we are learning the 1700th daf in Shas tonight, which means...
Rabbi, that's Yitzi Muller who's informing that.
I'm sorry, Yitzi Muller informing us that, which means that we have only 1,011 blot left to finish Shas. That's really something. Mark Frank, Shmuel Eisenberg, Moshe Lehman, Ben Kaniel, I'm not sure who that is. Is that Yossi Kaniel's son? Shelley Zeitlin, Chaim Braun, Ilya Shutman, Abe Arbach, David Helfgott, Sandy Grunfelders. Boy, Sandy, we've been missing you. It's great to see you, Sandy. I have to tell you, I was just thinking a few days ago, boy, I really miss Sandy. Good to see you, Sandy. Ella, and we are 7 lines from the bottom of Samach Vav Amud Aleph. Ella Rabbi Eliezer de Daf. It's Rabbi Eliezer of the shelf in the bakery. The Tanan, Daf shel nachtoimen, shekova b'kaisel, a daf of the baker that was attached to the wall. Whether it was planed before it was attached and then attached, or it was attached and planed afterwards, Rabbi Eliezer Matar. Rabbi Eliezer holds it's part of the wall, it's mechuber, for its megam kabel tumah, it doesn't have a din of a keli, v'chachamim metamin. So therefore the Gemara says, Mani, who is the author of the pipe? Remember we said that by the pipe, to passel the mikveh, it's a split decision. If the pipe was hollowed first and then attached to the ground, it has a din of a keli, and it will disqualify the mikveh. If it was attached to the ground and then hollowed out after it's attached, it won't be disqualified the mikveh. So who was the author? Rebbe Eliezer, he says, even if it was planed and then attached, it's already part of the wall. Even if you carve it out and then attach it, it still has a din of the wall or of the karka, and it shouldn't disqualify the mikveh. Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, even if you attach it to the wall and then plane it, it still has a din of a keli. So then, Rabbanan, afilu kavu leb'seif chakaku, even if you attach it to the ground and then carve it out, it should still have a din of a keli and disqualify the mikveh. Says the Gemara, La'olam Rebbe Eliezer. It's going according to Rebbe Eliezer. But where is Rebbe Eliezer mekel? V'shani pshute kleyates, by the board. The board is flat wooden utensils which don't have a base kibble, which don't have a compartment to contain things, and therefore the tumah d'Rabbanan. And therefore, since it's a tumah d'Rabbanan, he holds that even if it was planed first and then attached to the wall, it still has a din of the house and loses its status of a keli. So the Gemara says there's two problems with this. First of all, that implies mechlal de she'iva daraisa, that the din that if you draw water into a mikveh with a keli, that it disqualifies the mikveh is biblical. But that's not so. As we turn to Samech Vava Mebeis, V'kaimal under Rabbanan, that the din of kelim she'uvim by a mikveh is only the Rabbanan. V'oid, and furthermore, it's not talking about wood in the case of the bakery. It's talking about matchis, which is the raisa. V'oid ha'amar Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina b'daf shel matchis machlokes. Says the Gemara, now switching tracks entirely. La'olam Rabbanani. Now by the metal bracket, there the Rabbanan say whether you make it into a keli and then attach it to the wall, or whether you attach it into the wall and only then make it a keli, in either case it's going to be tamei. But that's only by the metal bracket, which is the raisa. But by the pipe, which is only the Rabbanan, only if you carve it and then you attach it will it disqualify the mikveh. But if you attach it to the ground and then carve it, it won't, because it's the Rabbanan. B'shani shiva the Rabbanan. Says the Gemara, but if it's the Rabbanan, why aren't we mekel to say that even if you hollow it out and then attach it to the ground, it should also not passel the mikveh? So even if you hollow it out and then attach it, why, if it's only the Rabbanan, why does it disqualify the mikveh? Says the Gemara, no, because there it was a keli before you attached it to the ground. If it's a keli before you attached it to the ground, then it will not lose its status of a keli. Shani Yosem di kataris keli alav b'tolish. It already had a Torah of a keli while it was detached from the ground. The Rabbanan hold that even though it's the Rabbanan, once it has a keli, by attaching it to the ground, you cannot negate its status of a keli. Now we move on to another subject. The subject is hechsher. We know that foodstuff is only mekabel tumah if it was first moistened with one of the 7 liquids. Now the pasuk says ki yutan, but it has the letters of yud taf nun of yitain. And we learn that if the water comes on by itself, it will also machshir it if that water was wanted by you to moisten something. Even if you didn't want it to moisten the fruit. But if you wanted it to moisten something, it'll be machshir l'kabel tumah. So for example, if you put a coffee cup out to be rinsed by the rain, and the water jumped from the cup onto Paris, so since you wanted the water to moisten the cup, it is machshir the Paris. But there's another halacha, there's another gzeirus hakasa. It's only if you wanted the water to moisten something that's detached from the ground. If you wanted the water to moisten something that was attached to the ground, that is not considered wanting it, and even if it rebounds and goes on Paris, it's not going to be machshir. You have to want to use it for something that was not attached to the ground. Now comes the shaila, boy Rab Yosef, mei geshamim shechishev aleim ladiach esoit stroiblen. The rainwater, that you were very happy that the rainwater is going to be rinsing and cleaning the track of the mill. Now the track of the mill was attached to the ground, but it was a keli before it was attached to the ground. So Maul is run. If it bounces off the track and moistens seeds, will that be machshir at the kabel tum? So I'll leave it to Rabbi Eliezer. According to Rabbi Eliezer, whatever is attached to the ground is considered like the ground. So that definitely doesn't make it something that you wanted. It doesn't make it kiyutan, because since it's attached to the ground, it's part of the ground, and it's only kiyutan if you wanted it to moisten something that wasn't mechubel karka. Ki tibalach aliba de Rabbanan. The question is, according to Rabbanan, that say by a sale, that say by the din of a sale, that when you sell the house, you don't sell the courtyard, you don't sell with it the track. The imre ain't karka, might. To what extent is it not like karka? Is it not like karka only for a sale? Or is it not like karka at all, and therefore the seeds will be moistened, the kabel tama? Says the Gemara, take it. Tishbi yatar, it's kushas v'bois. For the last teaching of this daf, Shalach le Rav Nechemya berei Rav Yosef l'Rabba berei Rav Huna zute. Rav Nechemya, the son of Rav Yosef, sent Rabba, the son of Rav Huna, the small, Lenarda. He sent the following missive, the following direction to Narda. Ki asya hach itzasa lekamach. When this lady comes to you, the father passed away, and there are sons, so the sons inherit, but she's entitled to the 10th of the estate for her dowry. So ki asya itzisa lekamach, when this woman, this young lady comes before you, agve iser nichse, the collection of the dowry is only from real estate. Only from real estate in the estate. You could collect afilu me stroible de rechai, even from the track of the mill, because that's considered like karka. Now Rav Ashi adds, Amar Rav Ashi, ki avinon bei Rav Kahana, when we were in the academy of Rav Kahana, magvinon afilu me'amola debate. When we collected even from rent due from apartments owned by the estate. Now, this doesn't mean rent that was already collected, because rent that was already collected is metaltalin, and the metaltalin is not meshubit. But this means that if, let's say, there were apartments in this state where the rent was due at the end of the year, and since ein stchiris mishtalemes elul b'seif, the rent is only due at the end, therefore that rent due is still considered real estate, and you could collect the 10th of the estate even from that rent that is coming due. Okay, we're just going to pause a minute to change the channel over here.